Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this Arrow webinar where we are going through an introduction to the new Veeam Pulse portal for license management and usage reporting. My name is Thijs, and I'm a technical business developer with Arrow ECS. With us today, we have Anthony from Veeam, who's going to take you through the demo. Just a quick note that if you do have any questions, there will be 3 sections. It's divided into 3 sections, the demonstration. So if you want to ask a question yourself, just raise your hand and we can unmute you at the end of each section. If you have questions along the way, feel free to ask them in the Q&A section or in the chat window below in the Zoom platform. That's about it. This demonstration is being recorded, and if you have to leave, you can either watch the recording or we'll have a rerun of the demonstration on Friday at 1 p.m. So over to you, Anthony.
Thanks, Thijs. Good morning, everybody. So like Thijs mentioned, the key things we're going to look at today, the first would be for you as Arrow partners, you are going to be logging in via ArrowSphere. Once you log into ArrowSphere, the journey is slightly different in the sense that, typical things would be the same, but in terms of being able to submit your usage reports, that has changed, so we'll show that to you. You will be accessing the Veeam Pulse portal via ArrowSphere. It's single sign-on, so I'll talk about a couple of things around that as well. And then once you log into the Pulse platform, then the expectation is that you will be able to do your license management, which is now something that you have available to yourself. And you would also be able to submit your monthly usage reports via there as well. So I'm going to start just kind of showing you what the ArrowSphere journey looks like and just talk through a few of these key points for you. So typical view is you would obviously sign in, log into ArrowSphere, as you normally do, and that would take you into the main screen over here as well. So this should be familiar for yourselves. Then at the top section, you've got, catalog, business, manage, API, knowledge center, depending on what it is. The expectation is that you will navigate to the top of the screen over here, and you will be looking to select on business over here. So just 1 second while my navigation goes. So you've got catalog as the initial view, but importantly, the area that you actually want to do is click on business, click on report monthly usages, and then click on create new report. This is exactly how you do today. You will select the subscription. So in this instance, you're looking for the Veeam Cloud and Service Provider subscription. Select your reporting month and then create or click on create report. Now, just to pause there for a second, this typically would be a different page for you, but right now it takes you to this single sign-on page and where it will navigate you to the Veeam Pulse portal, and all you need to do is click on this button over here, this blue button that says Veeam Portal. To pause for a quick second before we go further in this regard, there are a couple of things that are required. One is obviously that you're set up properly in ArrowSphere. So reach out to Thijs and the team if you've got any questions specifically, and they would be able to also reach out to us within Veeam if there's anything that we have to check to make sure that you're able to log in properly. You have a Pro Partner ID as for your company within the Veeam Pro Partner portal. That's already been input or loaded into ArrowSphere for this single sign-on to be enabled. We may have some people, some of you that might have multiple accounts within Pro Partner just to manage your expectations. If you have maybe 2 or 3 different accounts using the same email address, or in fact, in some cases, you've used one email address, but your name is different on different accounts, we may find that this is blocking access. So if that is the case, we will look at that on a case-by-case basis, and we will work with you to resolve it. but the majority of you, we expect, will have one personal account. Your company is already registered. It should not be a problem. You should be able to access the Pulse platform directly from this page. So once you click on this Veeam portal, it will take you into Pulse. And what it does is it will take you, first of all, to your usage screen. If, for example, you did that today, you will not see anything on this page because the first reporting period is going to be for March usage for yourselves, and that is going to become available from the 1st of April. So just in case you are doing this and following this, this journey with us right now, you will not see anything on this page. It's the service provider My Actions page. And the key thing is that that is because your usage reporting will become available from the 1st of April for your March usage. So I'm going to pause there for now, specifically around, logging in and anything like that and making sure access into Pulse and obviously this page and what you see. If there are any questions, please do mention it. We can talk about it specifically around that whole ArrowSphere login into Pulse journey. If not, then we will continue to the next section, which is going to be a quick overview and then also showing you how to manage your licenses.
So if you have any questions, you can raise your hand using the participants button below, and we can give you access to talk. I see no raised hands, so
okay,
I think we're good.
That's good. That's good. All right, thanks. So the next area, I'm going to do a quick overview of the platform. Please remember that this page you log into sits under monthly usages, My Actions. So we'll come back to that and we'll look at that as well. This is just so that if you navigate around, you always know where to come back to. So the home button, which for the Arrow VCSP partners, we don't typically launch you straight into that, but just to give you a view of the entire Pulse platform. The home button typically just has basic program announcements, a breakdown of the different statuses for the reports. I'm just going to refresh this very quickly. Just so that you can basically see. So you would typically see a chart. It's taking me, I'm on a different environment now, so it's a bit slower. It's taking me, you'd see a chart that says what usages you have outstanding. If I go to monthly usages and I click on My Actions, like I mentioned, this is what this is the page you would be logged into once you enter the Pulse platform. So right here, I can see that I have my May 2020. Obviously, I have staged this, so this is still in the future. But I have my May 2020 usage that is outstanding that I haven't reported yet. I can see it's due on the 5th. These things still, from a Veeam perspective at least, I don't know if Arrow have a different date, with yourselves, but these still, stand as in the, it's due on this date. It's not submitted, so it doesn't capture the date you submitted this on. Your minimum commitment as a partner. So if you're on a no commit, it will say 0. If you're on like a 1,500, it will say that over here. Once you report, you're going to see the points reported. If it is over this 200, then you would just see basically the overage, which just kind of shows you, okay, you're growing, for example. And then you also see this reporting status as well. Typically, we expect that once you log in for the first time, your reporting status will be new. If you started looking at the report and you said, I need to maybe go away and look at something, I'm going to come back, and you log out and then log back in, because you have already started, playing with the report, looking at it or doing something to it, but you have not submitted it yet, then this will change to pending service provider review. So first status is new. The next one is pending service provider review. Once you submit your report, it changes to pending aggregator. And what happens is typically that moves it to Arrow, into ArrowSphere, for the Arrow team to process that order to yourself and to us as well. So those are 3 key statuses. If, for example, there is any discrepancy with your usage report, then what typically happens is you will have that as being rejected by the aggregator, that is the status, and it will be returned to you so that you can actually make the amendments to it. A good example we have given is somebody has submitted usage and then realized, oh, I forgot to report a product, or maybe I hit submit by mistake with 0 usage. So there are reasons why, and once you submit it, it locks it. So there are reasons why you may want the team in Arrow to actually, reject that and send it back to you so that you can make the necessary adjustments to that. Once the Arrow team have actually processed that order, it will change to pending Veeam, and within a couple of hours, a few minutes, whatever, it changes to the closed status. So you are able to track your usage reports across the board. So from the beginning all the way through to when this has been, processed all the way on our site as well. So the next area is monthly usages, all monthly usages. And really what this is basically showing you is every usage report that you have submitted, as long as you have submitted it through Pulse. So if you're looking at my historic view, let's assume my contract only started recently. This is my first month of usage, April, and this is what I submitted. So I can see everything here, and it continues to add it over here as well. So from your perspective, you also have visibility. You can imagine in, excuse me, you can imagine in about 6 months or so, you're going to have, 5-6 months worth of usage here, and you can track how you've been trending in that regard as well. Okay, so then the next thing that I want to look at is a rental agreement. So if you click on the rental agreements tab, you have a few things. One is your new contract, which is aligned to your commitment. So, even if you're a no commit, we assign you a contract because it's easy to track, and your licenses will be nested under this as well. And we're going to come back to this in a minute. You've got obviously your agreement status, you've got your account name. You can click on this also to see like some information about your account. And then you have the contract start date and the contract end date. And then obviously, again, you see what your commitment is. For partners who have a commitment, you will see that you should track your contract start and end date. If it's coming up for renewal, you can speak to your aggregator and ask them to obviously process an extension for this. In some cases, you may be able to process an upgrade if you feel you're consuming, more licenses and you need to upgrade to the next tier up. The benefit for you by upgrading, obviously, is that you get a discount in terms of the point prices as well. We are able, or you are able now, to raise a support ticket. So typically what you find is that you can just log into my.veeam.com and you can raise a support ticket. This is pretty similar to what you're doing today. We also have this page with Pulse tutorials. So we have, again, like we're doing, a quick overview, which is what we're doing right now. You've got license management over here, and you also have monthly usages. So you've got, these are like 3-minute, maybe 5-minute maximum, short videos, and also the how-to guides as well on how to manage these things. The final area is around the settings and language settings, but obviously this isn't as relevant for you, your team, for yourselves right now, just because the agreement is that we will communicate in English with our partners in the Nordic region. So the idea is, for example, we have some partners in Latin America, speaking Portuguese or Spanish, and they will be able to change their language settings depending on what they're more comfortable with. So let's look at license management to start, and then the next thing we're going to look at is usage reporting. So we'll look at license management, we'll pause for 2 minutes, take questions, and then we'll go and look at the usage reporting. So to manage your licenses, from wherever you are, click on this rental agreements tab. And then once you're there, you want to click on the contract number so that you can view your contract. So if you're following along, this is something you might be able to do now. Go to rental agreement and then click on the contract number to look at the contract. Again, this is just a high-level view of your rental agreement contract. Similar things to what you saw on the previous page: my commitment, my status, start and end date, 12-month contract term, and then this thing over here that's hard and soft limit. I will talk about that in a few minutes. So from this contract page, you will see on the right-hand side the button that says Manage Licenses. So click on that. And this is just a quick view of what you can see over here. So first of all, my minimum commitment, 200. Because I am on a 200 plan, the next level up is an 800. My soft limit is when it becomes financially viable. If I am consuming and reporting these number of points, this is when it becomes financially viable or beneficial for you as a service provider to upgrade to an 800 commitment plan, which is the next level up. So it doesn't stop you from cutting licenses to that level, but it says that, at that stage when you're starting to use licenses and reports that many, you should be aware that this is basically, it's what we're calling our break-even point internally. And this is basically something that actually, you have the opportunity to upgrade at that stage. The hard limit is a slightly different thing. This is when you get to 25% above the next level. So if you're on a 200, the next level is an 800. 1,000 obviously is 25% above that. And it's in essence basically saying that if you are using licenses, over 20% over the next level, you should seriously consider an upgrade at that stage. Ultimately, this is your call as a service provider, but when you think about this, financially, you are paying a lot more than you need to if you're using that much and you're not upgrading to take advantage of the benefits. This last one over here will show you that the amount of points, and not units, but specifically the points that you are licensed for currently. So this will change based on how many licenses you have and all that kind of stuff. On the left-hand side, you can see your contract start date and end date. Importantly, by the way, as a no-commit partner, so if you are a no-commit partner, it is not a 12-month contract. I think this pushes out there about, that this could be longer than just the one year, but your licenses will expire in a shorter period of time, and I will talk through that to you just so that you have a better understanding as well. So you have your existing licenses. I mean, we can ignore this promotional Cloud Connect license. That's a default promotional view that gets given. But this VCSP partner, for example, was migrated over to Pulse. And typically what you would find is any license that we have brought over into Pulse will have the word migrated at the back of it. So let's just assume that this is the case. If you want to download your license files, all you need to do is click on the license description. So let's just do that over here. And what you see in the license description, these are groups of licenses. So like a folder, and you might have more than one. You might have just one license product, but you might have more than one in there. So in this case, I have just one license, Veeam Backup Enterprise. And you can see basically I can hit the download button. The one thing that I want to just call out is the fact that depending on the license key that I cut will determine what license options in terms of the versions that I can download. So if you can see over here, there's a 9.5.3, which is your legacy licenses, if you remember it. 9.5.4, so that's your 9.5 update 4. And these are your Veeam instance licenses that were released maybe a year and a half thereabout ago. And then recently we have the version 10, which is a new product version that's been released. And the one thing just to point out importantly is the fact that the version that you deploy on environments really, or that you download, really does depend on, what version your end customer is on, or where you're going to be deploying that license. If your end customers are still on legacy environments or legacy licenses, and you deploy either a 9.5.4 or a version 10, you will find that there will be incompatibility issues. So the licenses you deploy with your end customers have to match what environments or what version that they are on individually. So you select the version that you need, and you just hit the download button, and you will be able to download the license file. That's the first thing you can do, is basically download the licenses you already have. I've clicked back, and the next thing that I'm going to do is show you how can I make changes to this existing set of licenses that I have. So you click on the edit button, and you can see like a summary page, like a front page. You just click next for this. We're going to cover that in a minute. And then on the right hand side, you can see basically this is a drag and drop functionality, and you can see basically that these are the products that I have. You can see it's a 9.5.3. That's the one that I cut. And let's say I want to increase that count to 25. And as a matter of fact, in this folder, I also want to add a different product. So let's say I want to add a 9.5.4 Veeam backup and replication standard. And let's say I want VMs, and I want 2 units, for example. Let's just keep it simple. So you can see that if this is looking at that and saying that my points per unit are 20 points per unit, and I want 2 units, that's total of 40 points, plus this one over here. So you will notice that your total points will go up to 265. So once you're done and you're happy with these are the products you want, you click submit. And once this page refreshes, it will take you to that first page I showed you, where you can just scroll down and you can download the licenses that you want. And like I mentioned earlier, on one of them, we cut the 9.5.3, so I have the 3 options to download. But on this one, we cut a 9.5.4, so I only have these 2 options for me to download, either the one that I cut, or if I feel like I have, upgraded my environments, then I can select the newer version. So again, you can just hit download, and basically that's what you have over here. The final thing around licenses is going to be very much around, I want to request new licenses, just start from scratch. How do I do it? So on the top right, you just click on the request new licenses. And there are a few changes that I should call your attention to. So first of all, like I mentioned, these descriptions, these folders, we cut them, based on product group. So I might decide I'm looking for, let me call this my Office 365 licenses. You have 2 options, or 3 options actually at the moment. Right now, the way we do things today, most of the licenses that you're cutting are multi-customer use licenses. Now, as VCSP partners, you have the option to cut a single customer use license, going forward. You also have the option to do an internal use license as well. So let me just kind of talk through that very quickly. With the internal use, it means you can use these licenses within your own company. It doesn't change the fact that you would still need to report on them like you would report on any of these, and you would still obviously need to pay the points consumed for that. But it gives you that flexibility to be able to then assign licenses that are used within your organization, and just report them in the normal way. If I selected single customer use, what this basically enables you to do, for example, is some VCSP partners we have spoken to, you have different customers or end customers, and you want to be able to say, I've got 20 units of VBR. I want to be able to cut this for this one customer, assign that, and then get another 5 units for this customer. And instead of just having a big bucket of 100, I can basically cut licenses individually for each of my customers and know that I can manage each one individually as well. This really gives you a lot of flexibility as as service providers as well. And then finally, obviously, we know that the multi-customer use is something that you're familiar with anyway today. So let's look at the single customer use as an example in this case. If I select single customer use, I would have to enter the customer's name. So if it's somebody that I've already cut licenses for in Pulse, I can click on the search and it will show me the list of all the customers and I can select the correct one that I want. Alternatively, if it's somebody that, this is the first time I'm cutting an end customer license for them in Pulse, just click on new customer and you can just basically enter for example, I can just say the name of the company is Groot, enter the company over here, and then say, for example, let's just say that they are based in Denmark. So this is mandatory. You have to put either an existing customer or a new customer. I guess for the most of you, because you haven't done it, you would most likely be starting out with the new customer piece. You would need to put the country of the customer. And then these 3 fields over here are not mandatory. These are optional, but say, for example, you might decide, it's Copenhagen, and then you've got the domain and then the customer CRM ID. You may want to populate all these fields as well, but that's your choice. At the bottom, the second area to look at is around the expiration date for the license. So as service providers, if you are on a commitment contract, then typically the license will expire at the end of your contract. If you are a no commit partner, then what happens is you've got the license expires after 75 days. So in essence, what typically happens is if we cut the licenses, today is the 25th, as long as you are up to date with your usage reporting, then typically it will continue to push it out by 75 days. If you're late by usage by 2 months, on the 15th of the next month, your license becomes inactive. This is the rule for the no commit partners. I don't think this is different from what it is today. But the minute you report your usage via ArrowSphere into Pulse, your licenses will switch back on in that regard as well. So this is controlled by yourself in terms of the license and all that stuff as well. For the VRA partners, if you are cutting a single customer use license, and this is specifically only for the VRA partners, you will be able to change the custom end date. And what that best use case to give in this regard is, I have a contract, with Arrow, to buy Veeam. This contract goes on till the 31st of March, 2021. I have an end customer that I am cutting this license for, and they are going to be expiring with me, for example, at the end of December, 2020. So I will put 31/12/2020. I'll select this custom end date, and I'll switch this auto extend button on. Importantly, one very important thing to call out is, please, when you deploy your licenses, on the product, you have this checkbox on the bottom corner on the console. You have this auto license key update functionality. Can you please, as much as you can, always switch that on? And this really does benefit you in a significant way. The 2-3 things that I can call out importantly for this is, if you have that checkbox selected, if you make any changes to licenses, so for example, you edit the units, do anything like that, something like this, for example, with the auto extend, things like when you change your contract, so maybe you do an extension or an upgrade, whatever it is, as long as when you deploy that license, you have selected that auto license key update functionality, you wouldn't need to redeploy those license files again. They would automatically update within a day or so. And basically you can just do everything from within Pulse, and you wouldn't need to worry about that going forward. So you have a choice of just saying that yes, especially if you're a VRA customer, that is. If your end date is this, then basically you can just have your licenses co-termed to your end date, or you can set a custom end date like we just described. I click next, and then I'm here where I can do, my products. So we said this is for Office 365 for that customer. I'm gonna drag this to the right-hand side, and then I'm gonna say basically I need to issue them 50 seats of Office 365. You can see that this is the PPU, it's calculated the points. I'm happy with that. I click submit, and once it refreshes, I can scroll to the bottom and I can download my licenses from here. So this is it with license management. I'm gonna hang fire on this page, and we'll stop for a minute and ask, if you've got any questions.
So we have one question that was coming in, or concern maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, so basically it's around the auto update feature in the product. So just to be sure that if you enable this auto update and you have an older version, would it be the license that download? Would it be incompatible with this, or would it always, as long as you cut the license with the lowest version number, that will still be able to download the correct license? And here it says they have seen it fail. So I guess they did have an issue with that.
So if you, especially as it is in Pulse at the moment, if you have a 9.5.3 existing on the current environment, and that is what is cut, as long as you're making changes from your license management wizard and you're still doing it on the 9.5.3, your auto updates will automatically update based on the current legacy license. So that you wouldn't need to worry about that. If you need to make a change to, from that to like, say, for example, a version 10, you would need to deploy in that regard, because it needs you to actually dictate whether you're upgrading that license environment as well. So I wouldn't worry about the auto update picking the wrong file, just because you will have control as to moving to the updated version. Specifically with the versions, you would have to control that, because I don't, like the expectation is that we wouldn't want to deploy a version 10 on an environment, or update version 10 on an environment that is not ready for that yet.
All right. Let me know if this didn't answer the question. I don't have anybody asking anything else at the moment.
Okay. So we're going to go, the next area we're going to go to is submitting the usages. So let's just go back to where we were when we logged in from Arisphere. So we landed on this page called My Actions. This is pretty straightforward to do in terms of a usage reporting point of view. So all you need to do is look for the usage month that you want to submit the usage for, click on the month. And then basically you have these three sections. The top one is just, again, we like to remind you about your commitment level. So, bear with us in that regard. But the key thing, reason why we have this in a lot of places is, their contracts changing constantly. People are upgrading and stuff like that. So we want to make sure that you, as the service provider, you're fully aware of what commitment you should be on at any given point in time. One thing you should be aware of is, if you processed an extension, for example, in April, sorry, not an extension, an upgrade in April, and it was due to start in May, when in May you are reporting your April usage, it's still going to show the old commitment because that's for April. So just be aware of that, and don't, just so that you don't assume that there's something wrong in that regard. The second section is obviously looking at the monthly usages. So it calls out the time, the month you're reporting for, the status. If you had submitted usage, you would have that on here, and submitted by as well, whoever submitted it. And then you can see the different products at the bottom over here in terms of what you need to submit usages for. So a couple of things to call out. I'm reporting May's usage now, but right now I'm in I'm in March, and I'm cutting new licenses. So it updates automatically into this view. If I cut licenses in February, when I'm reporting for February usage in March, those new products will show up on my my usage line items. That's a key thing for you to be aware of. So if I cut licenses in February, it's not going to show up in my January usage that I'm reporting in February. That's just so that you're aware of, because you've already consumed January usage anyway. So you've got the products listed that you have licenses for. You've got the units over here, or the workloads, and then you've got the total license units specifically over here. If you reported in the previous month via Pulse, you will see the value that you reported in units. And then this column over here, you will see where you can report for this current month. So let's start reporting. So in the first case, let's say I did 25 units this month because I've only just got that. Let's say I did 3 for these ones. And then let's say, for example, I did 21 units for that. In terms of how you actually obtain your usage, that doesn't change. You still have to read that, from the environment, from the console anyway, and just populate it into Pulse. Just before you ask, because I know that some partners have asked, we are working and building towards an auto-reporting functionality in the future. But to be honest, we've got to make sure that we work through these and work through the kinks properly. So this is something that is not due on our dock anytime soon. But definitely, for your information, we are working through that. So I've entered my units over here. It's done the math and calculated, obviously, the points per unit and given me my total points on the far right. I scroll down and I can see my reported points over here. I'm going to make one change, for example. So let's say in this instance that I did only, let's say I did only 5. My reported points goes to 142. My minimum commitment is 200. So the system enforces that balance, which is 58, because as I am in a commitment, the minimum that I can report is 200 points. So just so that you're aware, in case you see these values, you'll be able to kind of determine obviously why that is showing. But the minute you cross over the 200 mark, your enforcement goes to 0. And like I mentioned earlier, it just shows you what the overage is on that account. Second thing, another thing that we have added is the ability to add, additional product lines for in cases whereby you have used a product that you don't necessarily have a license for. And that is actually a possible situation. So if you think about it, with Veeam's instance license structure, we have situations whereby you have a group of products that you're able to use when you download one license file, for example. So in that instance, you're able to go here, select a product. So let me just say Veeam 1, just for the sake of it. Click Add. It will add the line item over here. You can see I have 0 licenses for this, but I may have used it. So I'm then able to then say, yes, I used 5 units of this as well. That's my total, and it adds my points over here. Once I'm done, I will click Save. And then this is one key thing, I need to maybe clarify with Thais. We have an option over here, by the way, to enter your own purchase order number. But typically, I expect that this is something that is done in ArrowSphere. So I believe that, Thais, maybe help me out here. This is not something that we're looking to do in Pulse, or is it something we care about?
I don't believe that we care about this, but let me just confirm that. Okay,
thank you. So basically in this instance, there is the option to enter your purchase order here. Please be aware you are not seeing any kind of currency values over here. That will be in ArrowSphere. So let's say we don't bother with the service provider, over here. And I can just click Submit Usage now. And by the way, please notice these 3 fields over here are going to change. So I'll hit submit. First of all, reporting status, like I mentioned earlier, changes to pending aggregator. It captures the date, and it also captures the name of the person who submitted this usage as well. Importantly, this now locks it, so you are not able to make any more changes to this report. So basically, that is it for usage reporting. What typically then happens is this usage gets transferred into ArrowSphere, and then you will be able to obviously pick up that process in ArrowSphere going forward as well. So please, if you have any questions, do ask, and we'll look to respond to that as well.
Yeah, so no questions coming in. Just confirming that if you need your PO number to appear, then you would care about filling out the service provider purchase order number, because that is going to be imported in ArrowSphere. Otherwise, if you're not using a PO number, you don't need to fill it out.
Thanks, guys. Okay, so if we don't have any questions, I'm just going to do a very quick overview again. Once you log in from ArrowSphere, you'll be taken to the My Actions tab. And in fact, right now, I should not have any actions on this page. It should show me a blank screen. I'm hoping it does. Correct? So if you did that today, this is what you would see. It's not because the system is broken, it's just because obviously the first usage is going to be March usage, and that will be available from the 1st of April. Just, just to kind of communicate that. Rental agreement is where your contract information sits, and under there is basically where your license, you can manage your licenses. So you'll be able to click on rental agreements and do that. And then just generally, if you have any questions regarding, the platform, the access, anything to that effect, please reach out to your aggregator. They will reach out to us. You also have, by the way, an opportunity to open a support case. This comes directly to Veeam, and we are able to process that as well. So if, for example, there's any kind of question that you need help with, you can reach out to us, or you can reach out to your aggregator as well.
And just a comment here. So we are having the SSO, the single sign-on feature from ArrowSphere to Pulse enabled hopefully later today. I just checked, it's not enabled as of yet, but we put in the request, so you should be able to access it later today, latest tomorrow, hopefully. Also, we had a question regarding additional users, how to create those. And that would be users in ArrowSphere, because they are being used as a single sign-on user to access Pulse. So you would be able to go ahead and create additional users for your license administrators in ArrowSphere.
The one thing, just to add to what Thaisa says, please, is that your company's email, or not email, website, or the domain name, for example. So say, for example, your company is arrow.com. It's important that the email addresses that you register on ArrowSphere is using the same root domain. So for example, Anthony at arrow.com. If, for example, they are different, then they may not pick up. And this I'm kind of mentioning, because there's a question about registering additional users. So please make sure that you are using the same root domain on the email addresses, and not, using maybe a different type of email to log into ArrowSphere. Okay, Thijs, that's me done. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Well, I think that's about it. I don't see any additional questions here, but again, if you have some colleagues that were not able to attend, we are running the session again on Friday at 1 p.m. So hopefully they can join there. If you have any unanswered question or question popping up later, just reach out to your local Arrow ECS contact, and we can help you get those answers as quickly as possible. Yeah, so with that, thank you very much, Anthony, for the demonstration. I hope you guys see this as a real benefit towards being able to self-service on licensing, and maybe a little easier with the reporting on calculating the points. So thank you, and have a great day.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.